Have you ever noticed something weird about your workplace? The people who work the hardest, they're the ones who quit first. They burn out. They leave. But the lazy people, the ones who do the minimum, they just stay. They've been there for years, doing nothing, getting paid, chilling. And you're there thinking, how is this even possible? Where's the justice? Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. There's actually a really good reason why lazy people never get fired, and understanding why will literally change how you think about your job and your paycheck. Let's break it down. First, let me tell you what happens to the hard workers. You know the type. The guy who's always doing extra, always raising his hand, always saying yes to every project. What happens to him? He becomes essential, but not in a good way. He becomes so essential that he can't take vacation. He becomes so essential that the company can't promote him because nobody else knows how to do his job. He becomes so essential that when he asks for a raise, they say, well, if we pay you more, the budget breaks. So he's stuck, trapped in his own competence. He's working 50 hours a week, making the same as he made 3 years ago, getting more responsibilities, more stress, more burnout. And then one day, he just leaves. He gets a job offer from another company. He's fresh. He's hungry. He's ready for something new. The company loses him. But here's the thing. The company doesn't really care. Why? Because they know exactly what he was costing them. He was burning out. He was making mistakes because he was tired. He was creating bottlenecks because everything went through him. He was a risk. So they let him go. They replace him with someone younger, hungrier, cheaper. That's the first part of the puzzle. But the lazy people? Why do they stay? Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus is not ambitious. Marcus doesn't care about climbing the corporate ladder. Marcus shows up at 9 a.m. He does his job. He leaves at 5 p.m. He's done. He doesn't volunteer for extra projects. He doesn't answer emails at night. He's not trying to prove anything. And here's what happens to Marcus. Nothing. He just keeps his job, year after year. Why? Because Marcus is not a risk. Marcus is sustainable. Marcus is predictable. Marcus is not going to have a mental breakdown at his desk. Marcus is not going to quit tomorrow because he got a better offer. Marcus is just reliable. From the company's perspective, Marcus is low maintenance. He does his job. He doesn't complain. He doesn't need constant motivation or management. He's just there. And when it comes time to make cuts, Marcus is actually safer than you'd think. Here's why. When a company looks at who to fire, they don't just look at productivity. They look at cost versus value. Asterisk, asterisk. The hard worker? He's expensive because he's burned out. He's making mistakes. He's unpredictable. He might quit. He might cause drama. High risk. Marcus? He's doing his job. Doing it fine. Cost low. Value steady. Risk minimal. So Marcus stays. And the hard worker leaves. It sounds backwards, but it's true. Okay, but here's where it gets interesting. Most of us have been told our whole lives that hard work is the answer. Work harder. Get ahead. Prove yourself. But what if that advice is actually backwards? What if working harder is actually making you worse off? Think about it. When you work harder, what signal are you sending? You're sending the signal, I'm not confident in my work. I need to prove myself. I need to work extra hours to show that I'm valuable. But a person who's actually confident in their work, they don't need to prove anything. They do good work during normal hours. They protect their time. They say no to extra projects. And psychologically, that confidence is worth something. Managers can smell desperation. And desperate people are not attractive to keep around. Asterisk, asterisk. They're actually risky, because desperate people eventually break, or they get a job offer somewhere else, or they become resentful. But confident people, people who protect their time, people who do their job and move on, those people are stable. There's another thing happening too. When you work too hard, you actually become trapped. You become so good at your job that you're the only person who can do it. You become indispensable. But here's the problem with being indispensable. You're not promotable. If you get promoted, who does your job? So the company keeps you where you are. You're stuck. Meanwhile, the lazy person, he's training other people to do his job because he doesn't want to do everything himself. He's documented his processes. He's made himself replaceable. And you know what? Making yourself replaceable is actually what gets you promoted, because the company knows they can move you up without breaking the operation. So the lazy person moves up. The hard worker stays stuck. And then the hard worker gets frustrated, gets burned out, leaves. The lazy person keeps climbing. Here's the real truth that nobody talks about. The corporate system is not designed to reward effort. It's designed to minimize risk and maximize predictability. A hard worker is unpredictable. You don't know when they're going to snap, when they're going to quit, when they're going to demand a raise they deserve. A lazy person is predictable. You know exactly what you're getting. No surprises. That's why companies can keep mediocre employees around forever. That's why they move on from good employees. It's not about performance. It's about stability. Now, here's where this actually affects your money. Most people think, if I work harder, I'll get paid more. But that's not how it works. That's not how the system works. The people who get paid more are the people who move between jobs. Someone who stays at the same company for 10 years, they might get a 3% raise each year. That's it. $2,000 more per year if you're making $60,000. Someone who switches jobs every 3 or 4 years, they jump from $60,000 to $75,000, then $90,000, then $110,000. Over a career, job switching makes you 50 to 100% more money than staying at one place. Asterisk, asterisk. But here's the catch. You can only switch jobs if you have the energy to job hunt. If you're burned out, working 50 hours a week, you don't have time to update your resume or interview. The lazy person has time. He's doing his 40 hours. He's got 8 extra hours a week to upskill, network, interview for better jobs. The hard worker has no time. He's exhausted. He's just trying to survive. So the lazy person makes more money over his career, not because he's lazy, but because he actually had the bandwidth to make strategic moves. The lazy person is playing the game smarter. The hard worker is just playing harder, asterisk, asterisk. And in capitalism, smart beats hard every single time. Okay, so this isn't advice to be lazy at your job. Don't do bad work. Don't coast. But here's what you should actually do. First, do good work during normal hours. Then stop, asterisk, asterisk. Don't answer emails at night. Don't work weekends. Don't stay late. Do your job well, and then be done. That's it. Why? Because you're signaling confidence. You're saying, my work is good. I don't need to prove anything. I'm not desperate. And that signal makes you more valuable, not less. Second, use the extra time strategically. The hard worker uses his extra time to work more. The lazy worker uses his extra time to get ahead. What does that mean? Learn new skills. Get certifications. Build a side project. Network with people in other companies. Update your resume. Interview for better jobs. The extra 10 or 15 hours a week you just saved, that's your wealth building time, not the extra hours you work. Third, make yourself replaceable, not indispensable. Document your work. Train other people. Create systems and processes so that your job doesn't depend on you being a genius. This makes you promotable. This makes you valuable. This keeps you from getting trapped. Fourth, stop thinking about loyalty. Your company is not loyal to you. They'll replace you when it's convenient. So you shouldn't be loyal to them either. You should be loyal to your career, your growth, your paycheck. When a better opportunity comes along, take it. Move companies. Increase your salary. That's how you actually get ahead. The hard worker thinks, if I work harder, the company will reward me. The company doesn't work that way. Companies only reward you if you make them move. Here's the thing about wealth building that most financial advice gets wrong. Most people think it's about saving more and spending less. Maybe getting a side hustle. But the biggest wealth builder in your life is actually your salary. And the best way to increase your salary is not to work harder. It's to move between opportunities. Someone making $60,000, who switches jobs every 3 years and gets a 20% raise. Each time will make over $2 million in their career. Someone making $60,000, who stays at the same job for 30 years and gets a 3% raise will make less than $1.5 million. The difference? $500,000 or more. That's real money. That's the difference between retiring at 60 and retiring at 70. That's the difference between being comfortable and being stressed. And the person who makes more is not necessarily the person who works more. It's the person who makes smarter moves. The lazy person understands this. He knows that his time is limited, so he doesn't waste it on one job. He uses it strategically. He moves when the time is right. He increases his salary by changing companies, not by asking for raises. The hard worker doesn't get this. He thinks, if I work hard here, I'll get promoted eventually. He doesn't. He just gets burned out. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Lazy people never get fired because they understand the system. They understand that companies don't reward effort. They reward predictability and minimize risk. Asterisk, asterisk. They understand that the best way to get ahead is not to prove yourself to one company. It's to move between opportunities. They understand that their time is their most valuable asset. So they don't waste it on one job. Are they lazy? Not really. They're smart. The hard worker isn't more virtuous. He's just playing the game wrong. So here's what you should take away from this. Do good work, but protect your time. Use that extra time to make strategic moves. Change jobs when better opportunities come along. Stop thinking about loyalty. Start thinking about your paycheck. That's how you actually get ahead. That's how lazy people get rich. And that's why they never get fired. Thanks for watching. If this changed how you think about your job and your money, subscribe for more videos that challenge conventional wisdom about work and wealth. See you in the next one.